Welcome back, guys. On this episode, I'm gonna crawl up under the Mercury here and probably drop the transmission pan, see what that looks like. Guineas are already talking. See what that looks like, see what we need to do about possibly pulling it out, rebuilding it, putting it back in. Guess I get nervous when they're on camera. It's gotten to the point now when you try to move it, you've got park, reverse, and 4 neutrals. Need to figure that out. It'll move and forward just a little bit if you pull it all the way down in 1 and just jam on the gas. That's about it. It's got a great reverse. If I drove it everywhere backwards, it'd be fine. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. And it is windy today. Hopefully the wind will die down. But I am inside the shelter, so that should help some. Oh, and yeah, and I think I showed it on the Cadillac video, but I did put siding on my shelter. So all the way around the back, still got a hole back there that I gotta do something with. Yeah, it should help with the wind a lot. So let's dive into it. Well, I don't know if you can see it or not, but my intentions were to jack this up and crawl underneath it today. Had it jacked up for about a day and a half now. Yeah, we got a lot of rain yesterday in the evening, and apparently what that does is it makes the jack stands fall. I thought when I come out I noticed that it was lower in the back than it had been. So yeah, hopefully we didn't mess nothing up. I guess that's where it hit and slid down. Broke my tin, pushed my table into the wood or whatever. Hopefully we didn't break our brace back there. Yeah, so I'll work on that, I guess. Well, I got it down off the jack stands and went to move it, and I should have known that it wasn't gonna go well. I still got reverse, great reverse. This is all the way down in 1. Nothing, absolutely nothing. So it did move just a touch, and then I had to get out and move the golf cart that was in my way. And when I got back in, now it won't do nothing as far as forward. So I could go up to the barn and get my other truck that I know would pull it, but that feels like a lot of riding that golf cart up there. So I do have a tractor. The tractor would pull it. I just need to get it out of where it's sitting and look at my floor or dirt, whatever you want to call it, and my siding. I've still not even got it up far enough to see the holes that the jack stands dug into the ground. So let me fire the old Ford up, get this thing pulled out. If any of y'all like old Ford tractors, this is a really good one. It's a Ford 1710 that I traded a lawnmower that I had for, but this is a good running little tractor. I had to buy several implements for it when I bought it, but look at this. Only 848 hours, and it runs like a top. It doesn't even have a off switch. You throttle as you off. Let's see if she'll start up. It ain't been started in probably about a week and a half or so. Well, we got the car out. Little forward done pretty good. I don't think it runs to jack stands. That's the two there that was on the back. These two was on the front. So which now, you know, it ain't like it fell on a hard surface. The ground is super soft, so it's just able to dig. I think they're Advance jack stands. TEQ. They didn't bend. So that's, and the left side of the car was actually resting on the jack stand, whichever one it was. It was up under the tire, and then the actual arbor piece of it was up and cocked sideways and everything else. So they didn't even bend it. That's good. Got it back in here. Got the ramps on it, front and back. I backed onto the back ones. The front ones I actually jacked it up and put them under, and then realized that I faced them the same way as the back ones, so I could have probably just backed up on all four of them. But we got it in here. I'm gonna crawl up underneath this thing, drop the transmission pan, see what that fluid looks like. If I had to guess, it ain't gonna look pretty. Well, I've definitely seen and smelled a lot worse fluid. Of course, don't know what it overall looks like until we get it all in the pan, but wanted to show y'all some of the rust under this thing. That's the bottom of the floor. Of course, I'm doing this with my phone, but the floor is, it's pretty rough. That'd be the back, like the passenger, the back seats. Of course, that's right under the driver's seat. So it's got some rust in it. I'm gonna let this fluid drain, pull the pan off, see what we're working with. Of course, the exhaust ends right behind that muffler. There is no tailpipe out of it. We got a 9-inch in the rear, C4 transmission, 351 Windsor for an engine, so it's a pretty good combo. Oh, and look at this. No transmission bolts, so that's cool. And that's where we're at. Well, we got the transmission pan off. Transmission's draining, drip draining a little bit, but the fluid don't look horrible. But I had to remind myself that I had put several quarts of fluid in this thing. I don't know how much it holds, but there is a lot of what I'm assuming is clutch material, and every bit of it looks burnt. It's either clutch or band, and I'm assuming it's clutch, probably forward clutch. There's, I don't know why it's thundering. I don't know if y'all can hear that or not, but it just thundered. And it's completely blue sky. I figured this is kind of what it's going to look like. Honestly, I figured the fluid would look worse. Seeing all that material, it's, I'm about to guarantee you, either the clutches or the band is burnt out of it. And that's why I don't have any drive. Oh, while you're looking at this thing though, I did wash it. Don't know if you can tell how big of a difference it made, but it made a huge difference washing it. I got some streaking going on back there. How much of a difference it made just washing this thing, especially on the back. It was green back here. See, I thought when I first picked this car up that it was the same color as the Cadillac. It's not quite. It was just that dirty. Well, I decided that I reckon I'm gonna pull the transmission no harder than it's gonna be. Got everything unhooked, drive shaft, lines, torque converter, the exhaust that's in the way, all that stuff. Only thing I got left is cross member, bell housing bolts, and the kickdown rod. and I'll have it out. I think I'm gonna do that tomorrow because it's getting cold and I'm tired of laying on my back. We want to show you this. I don't know if y'all can tell how big these piles of rust are, but I started doing some rust excavation on just the driver's side here, and it's pretty bad. I just wanted to see how bad it was, how bad it might be to fix. I think just for me to drive it, I think what I do is cut out the bad spots and cut me some tin or something to just bigger than what the bad spot is. Maybe use some seam sealer on the outside edge and pop rivet it in place. I mean, once you put the carpet over it, you're never gonna know. Not unless you get up underneath it, and hopefully once I rebuild the transmission, you won't have to get up underneath it for nothing. Other than maybe the occasional brake work. But you're not gonna be crawling all up underneath the floor and everything else for that. I left the windows down because this thing still kind of smells bad. It's probably a combination of all the mouse stuff that's still in here, and I vacuumed it out. I done that when I washed it, but there's still got to be something somewhere behind the dash or in the blower motor or something, which the blower motor don't work. It sounds like it's rolling around a couple of dead mice, so that may be where it's coming from. I need to pull it apart and do that, but I don't really want to spend no more on it until I know the transmission is going to be good and it's going to drive good. So that's about where I'm at with it. Back out here tonight, next day. Got the transmission out. Piece of plywood so the jack had a good spot to roll around on. And yeah, we got her out. We're gonna get it in the building. Got to clean off my work table because I got about 5 other projects that I was working on already on it. Got to clean that off. And then we'll get the trans on the table and tear it down and see what we can come up with. I just wanted to get you in here while the trans is out, just to look at what we got going on. Of course, there's the flywheel or flex plate, whatever you want to call it. Got a intake leak starting up there. Looks like somebody's glued the valve covers on, so that's good. Flex plate looks good, nothing wrong there. Got a rust hole starting here in the tunnel. But that's about the only place in the tunnel it's bad. If I get my hand out of the way where you can see it, it's starting, of course, on the turns of the tunnel, but I think that'll be all right. I think I'm gonna get in here while I got the transmission and drive shaft out and everything, and spray the parts that I'm not gonna do, like this part. That'd probably be a little hard to get to from inside. It may not be, but it probably will be. So I'll probably spray that with like some rust converter or something and just call it good enough. And I don't know, I figured these were like converters because they're on both sides. They just bolt to the manifold, but there ain't nothing in them. Neither one of them. So I guess they're just resonators, maybe. I mean, if y'all know for sure, let me know. So I figured for sure I'd have to take them out and beat all the honeycomb out of them, but nope. Well, we finally got it in here in the building. I had to clean the bench off. I had a whole bunch of crap on the bench and whatnot. Figured I'd show y'all draining the converter because the fluid that come out of it earlier was pretty bad. And yeah, that jar is pretty gross, but it'll accomplish what we need it to. I don't know if you can tell that right off or not, but it's got quite a bit of metal in it. So we've definitely got something going on in there. Now I'm gonna swap this jar with my bucket over here, because I think I've got enough of a sample. Alright, swap to my bucket so I don't have to hold the jar, but there is lots of metal in that fluid. Let me get it below the... Lots of metal. So we definitely got something going on. I'm gonna tear it down. I've never had a Ford trans apart. I've built a couple 700s, 4L60s. They're all about the same. I've tore apart turbo 350. That's what's in that tub down there. But I never put it together because never had any use for it. But I've never done a Ford transmission. Never had one apart, never rebuilt one, whatever. So I'm gonna tear it apart and get a good parts list. Y'all have to let me know if there's any pointers or whatnot about putting this thing back together. So look at all that metal coming out of that thing. Lots of metal just rolling out of the converter. Oh, we're out here again this evening, taking this trans apart. Popped the bell housing off, tail housing off, got them out of the way. Pulled the pan off and the filter off. Pulled the pump off and immediately noticed this when I flipped the pump over. If this is like a Chevrolet, which I'm assuming it is, this is supposed to be like a washer that goes between the pump housing and that drum. And of course it is completely melted. Oh yeah, I just broke it. So already having carnage. The pump right here where it rides on this bushing in here, the bushing don't feel all that bad, but the pump, I can feel those grooves with my fingernail. This shaft don't look horrible except right there, if it'll focus. Get out of the light. Right in here, but I don't think, well, maybe right there is where it rides on a bushing. So we might have to address that. I was hoping all the, because it's like rust pitting, I was hoping all that was just in the middle of the shaft where it wouldn't matter, but we may not be that lucky. I think that's where it rides on the pump right there. So, well, we finally got the trans all tore down. Still got to take the clutch packs apart, look at the clutches, but so far I'm seeing quite a bit wore out. I don't know what I'm going to do yet as far as rebuild it. I can't find a good used one on Marketplace anywhere around me. I found 2, maybe 3 that say they're rebuilt, but then you look at some of the other people that's bought from the guy and they say, well, we bought a transmission, said it was rebuilt and is full of rust or water or whatever. So I don't think I want to go that route. I believe I'd just rather spend the money on this one if I'm going to do that. Here's what we found so far. So I think I've already videoed this, but our plastic washer that goes between the pump and I think it's this drum. No, it's not that drum. This drum. There's supposed to be a plastic washer that goes between those two. This is your most forward drum. It's melted completely. The pump gears, I don't know if this is the bad side or not. Let me pull those off. the gears really aren't in horrible shape, but the pump itself, this gear, you can see the scoring on that, kinda. But the case down in here, or this would be the body of the pump. That's the stator. This is the body. There's some pretty good grooves down in that, and you can even see it there. And especially on the stator side. The body side I could probably live with, but the stator side is horrible. So definitely going to need a pump. Of course, all new clutches and seals and whatnot. This is a planetary that rides. Shoot, I've moved some stuff around. I think that goes with that. Yeah, it does. This is the planetary that splines into this. Move my gears again. It splines into this, but this end of the planetary sits down on that washer like that. Well, as you can look at the washer, it's grooved horribly. So we flip the planetary over, and if it'll focus, the planetary is also horrible on that side. So planetary is no good, which is a shame because all the gears feel really well in it. The sprag still works. This planetary feels and looks alright. The washer looks pretty good. A lot of kits I'm seeing come with washers anyway, and that's probably the way I'll go. Because a lot of them you can at least feel just a little bit of a groove in them. Let's see. I don't think there was anything on that sun shell. This band was toast. This is your intermediate band, and it is completely toast. If it'll float, yeah, there you go. This is the reverse band. It's not all that bad, but most of your kits come with 2 new bands. This is your rear support. There's not really anything there. Drop some bolts. It just transfers fluid through these 2 tubes to your output shaft where your sealing rings are. I'm gonna pop these clutch packs apart. I have not took the valve body apart yet, but look at all the trash that's in this thing. I mean, just horrible. All kinds, and it's just everywhere. So I'm sure that's clutch and band, and both servo housings are plumb full of it. Both servos are plumb full of it. This I found interesting. This servo is full of rust somehow or another. So I don't know if this O-ring on the outside was leaking and it got water in it, but see, it's on the inside of the servos. So that'd be inside of the transmission, so I don't know what happened there. Not really any rust anywhere else in the transmission, so that's kind of odd to me. If any of y'all out there are transmission people, I don't know if I like this or not. This is your input shaft. This side is the converter side. This is the side inside the transmission. Converter side looks really good where it rides. The shaft feels fine. It's got some rust pitting right here, but that is fine as far as there goes, but it also goes up into here where it rides on the bushing. So I don't know if that's all right. if I should just clean that up with some emery cloth or if I should get a new one. Not quite for sure on that. Oh, and there of course is your modulator. So, oh, and I wanted to show you this. I know without even taking this clutch pack apart that these clutches are burnt up. For one, you can tell the discoloration of them. You can see that bottom clutch isn't discolored and the other ones are. But this is also super springy. So that clutch pack is burnt up. See, this one doesn't. This one's not springy at all. And that one, those aren't discolored. I don't know how well you can see them. There you go. Those aren't discolored. So a lot of the bushings, I think are okay, but I like to replace all my bushings whenever I do a transmission anyway, especially one that's had a lot of metal and clutch material and stuff like that go through it, because you just don't want worn out bushings and all new parts. So let's get them clutch packs apart and see what they look like. All right, I got my clutch packs apart. This one is your intermediate clutch. Like I said, this is your most forward drum. I'm guessing it's intermediate clutch. Maybe it's reverse. I don't know. I'll have to look at the book. But these clutches look pretty good. Wish I had some better lighting in here. The clutches all still have material on them. The steels don't look all that bad. There's not an overload of metal in here. Oh, I forgot to mention a minute ago too, this is also wore out. It's chewed into the teeth of that. It might would be reusable, but it's pretty bad as you go around it in some spots. So I wouldn't reuse it if it was me, and I'm building it for me. So, but I said this is your forward clutches, and they are bad. They are toast. As you can see, there's no clutch material left except for the top two clutches. That one and that one. And the material on them just is not good. But that right there is supposed to be a clutch. And there's no material left on that. I hope this bevel spacer, or I guess it's not bevel, but this bottom spacer is good. It doesn't feel like it's overly gouged. So maybe it'll be all right. Let's see, here is a clutch, and you can tell why it was so springy, because it's gotten so hot it's actually warped them. And of course the teeth on these clutches is what's wore out that ring gear. And I didn't even think to look yet. I think this drum will be all right. Yeah, it looks to be all right. It just needs a lot of cleaning, but I think it'll be all right. So yeah, we've got some carnage. Gonna have to go looking for some parts and clean all this up, and hopefully I can find all the parts. I still gotta take the valve body apart, but I don't really like doing that until I'm putting it back together, because I don't want to take the valve body apart, clean it, and let it sit around and get dirty, because that's more or less the most important part of the transmission. That is your brains of the transmission. So we can look at it. Of course, here on top, here on top is your filter. It's actually flipped over when it's in the car, bolted to the transmission, but all kinds of junk in the filter, And there's more up in there. I mean, all kinds of junk in the filter. And these are just a mesh filter. They're not like a normal transmission filter, what you'd think of. They're just a fine screen mesh. And I just lost the bolts out of the filter. No, those are my mountain bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should have 9 of those. 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, I got one longer. The longer one come out of there. Help me remember that. Yeah, there's your brains of the transmission. That's your forward, reverse, neutral selector. This is your kick down. From what I'm feeling so far, just those two, everything feels pretty good. So the valve body most of the time is all right. They're cast pieces, at least on a Chevrolet they are. This one's, the bottom of it's actually aluminum, but you don't have any valves in the bottom. They're all up here. And I think that's well, I guess that's aluminum too. So I'll make sure all the valves work good and move good, but other than taking this out, your forward, reverse, and your kick down rod, other than taking that out, the case is completely apart. Just a lot of cleaning to do. Like I said, got to get parts. Back out here on the C4 out of the Mercury. Thought I was done with tearing it down, but I forgot to tear these two drums all the way down and get these pistons out of them. Just kind of wanted to show you what was going on. This is your direct drum. This is the most forward drum, the one that the pump sits on this side of it, and it splines into, I think it splines into that shell, I think. Yeah, it splines into that shell. But anyway, I just wanted to show y'all. Got this drum apart. Like I said, this one was working. So this comes on in reverse, I'm assuming, or maybe it's, to be honest with you, I don't know. I'd have to look at the book again. But this one's got this big spring in it. You got to use a compressor. One I've got looks like this. If you didn't know what it was, you'd think it's some kind of torture device. And all you got in the bottom is a piston. You got a O-ring on the outside of the piston, and then you've got an O-ring, you might be able to see it right there in that bottom groove inside the drum. Everything in this drum looks pretty good. Of course, I'm not going to reuse the O-rings and stuff, but they look good. So I'd say that drum was probably working. And yeah, my table is gross. That's all the metal that's been coming out of this thing. Just metal and material and everything else. Like I said, that one's pretty good. That one was the one that the clutches looked good in. This is the direct drum though. This is the one the clutches were burnt out of it, or forward drum, whatever it's called. Anyway, got this one apart. This one's just got a big snap ring that holds this bevel plate in. And the bevel goes up like this, I think. Yeah, the bevel goes up. Underneath that bevel, you've got another piston, and then of course another O-ring for the piston inside that drum. Well, what I found on this piston was, where's it at? Broken O-ring. And this O-ring is, I mean, this probably has came from heat. But it is super brittle. So this is why we had no forward. All the pressure was just leaking right past it. And if you look down in this drum, if I can get you down in there, let me get a light. If you look down in this drum, right there, you can see that O-ring is cracked. It's actually cracked in 2 places, and it's split completely right there, and it's starting to split right there, just all the way around it. That O-ring is in horrible shape. So right there was our pressure loss. Like I say, that probably come from a combination of heat and being old and sitting. Now I don't know about this. This isn't an O-ring, this is like a metal. I don't drop it back down in there again. I had it out a minute ago and I shouldn't have put it back in. There we go. This is like a metal band, metal ring, but I'm pretty sure it's broke. Maybe it's supposed to be that way, because when you push it down in its groove, it opens up some. But I'll have to do some more research on that, because to me it looks broke. So you've got that. This I thought was pretty cool. This, of course, this is the bushing that was in that drum. It's completely wiped out. But still says Ford on it, Ford FM. I thought that was pretty neat. I can't remember. I know I told you this went this way, but no, it goes this way. Yeah, that goes like that inside of the drum, and then this goes around it. Also wanted to mention that I know I said I wasn't going to take his valve body apart and clean it, and I didn't clean it, but I did go ahead and take it apart just to make sure I wasn't going to have to order a whole new valve body or something, or find a good used one. Nothing looked overly bad. Almost all the valves in it were stuck. So that instance where we was driving it and it went into neutral and then come right back out and like went into third, that was probably a valve problem then. And we probably should have just stopped using it then. But of course we didn't. We had to see what we could do. But yeah, so I have had the valve body apart, and I just loosely put it back together so that I knew where everything went. So that's it for taking this transmission apart. That's pretty much the gist of it. Like I say, got some parts ordering to do, cleaning to do. I hope I can get all these parts, because I've been looking some, and I think I can. The place I normally get my parts through for transmissions, they're not showing some of the stuff I need. So hopefully I can still get them. Sometimes they can come through even if they don't show it in stock. And I do have a shop that I might could call and maybe get some good used parts or something. But I think that'll be it on this. Like I said, let me know if you want to see a build video on this, or if you just want to see me putting it back in the car, or what you want to see. I ain't never made a build video. I do have to, since the little plastic washer is melted away to nothing, I do have to make sure all my tolerances are right when I put it back together and all that good stuff. And I did do some research that plastic washer, according to the manual, that plastic washer and the bushing that goes in this drum, the one that's chewed up like crazy, are supposed to be matched. If one is however thick, the other one's got a matching thickness that it's supposed to be. So we'll have to deal with all that and set the tolerances up and adjust the bands and all that good stuff when we put it back together. I am going to put a shift correction kit in it. It's not really because it's high performance or anything like that, but a lot of times these shift kits will correct and help prevent future problems. I'm not really going to do any major upgrades in this thing, pretty much just build it back to stock other than the shift kit. But yeah, that'll do us for today. Y'all stick around. If you're feeling frisky, like it, hit the subscribe. Other than that, we'll see y'all later.